Okay, so now we're going to actually look at journal entries for the bank reconciliation. Okay, so bottom line is, when I do a journal entry, I only look at things down here. Only things at the bottom for the book balance require a journal entry. Nothing up here requires a journal entry. So only the book side only. So there's only 4 items, this one and these 3. And you already know half of the equation. So at anything that was add, you're going to add to cash, which is a debit. Anything that is subtract is going to be a credit to cash. So here's our journal entry. So that 90 cents was when I wrote somebody I owe money on a check, and I put it in correct. So the debit is to cash, the credit is to accounts payable. Always, an error in recording a check is always going to go to accounts payable. So there's the journal entry for that. Next is the $100 I took out the ATM. So I'm going to credit cash. Hold on, there's one more. Credit cash for 100 and debit my drawing account because I took it out for personal reasons. Now, the bounce check. Remember the NSF check always is accounts receivable and credit our cash, always. So here's always what an NSF check, up here. So always what an NSF check should actually look like. Credit the cash, debit accounts receivable, because the customer now owes you the money. Here's my $1.80, okay? And so so basically by doing these journal entries, you will actually be able to now have your accounts actually match. So now we're moving to petty cash fund. So let me explain this to you. This is basically when you run an office, you want to keep a small amount of money set up in the office to pay for small items that you don't want to write a check for. And you have to actually make sure that you keep track of someone is in charge of it and the money's locked up, and that person is called the custodian. And again, it should always be locked up because cash is the one thing that will actually walk away from your business. So here I only require 2 journal entries. The first one is when I actually establish the account. Okay, establishing the fund is my first journal entry, and then when I actually replenish it will be my second. So we'll talk about this. 2 journal entries only. So I'm going to establish a fund, a petty cash fund. So I'm going to write a check out to who's ever the custodian. They're going to go down to the bank, cash it, bring the money back, put it in the box. Okay, and so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take money out of my regular cash and I'm going to actually debit my petty cash. And here's my journal entry for that. So this is journal entry number 1 to establish the account. Now, let me explain to you that never again will you actually touch this petty cash account unless the amount of 200 is not enough or too much. So remember, 2 journal entries. The next one is going to be replenish. So here's what happens. All during the month, I'm going to, give money to go down to buy stamps at the post office, office supplies, maybe pick up some other things we need, who knows. But I keep a record. And at the end of the month, I fill out the record with all this information. It's actually called a voucher. Okay. And I'm going to break it all down so I know. And now I'm going to use this voucher to replenish it. So this is actually going to be the journal entry to replenish that we're going to show you now. And I already talked about this. You don't touch petty cash once you establish it. So let's move on. Okay, here we go. At the end of the month, so I put 200 away. At the end of the month, I had 8 vouchers and only $21.20 in cash, which means if I started with 200 and this is all the cash I have left, then I should have receipts or vouchers for the difference, which is $178.80. So what's going to happen is I'm going to write a check for the difference payable to the custodian. They're going to go down and they're going to cash it and they're going to bring back the money. And in the box, they're going to put this cash and add it to this cash and turn in all the receipts. And now I'm back to $200. Here's the journal entry for petty cash. here's what it looks like. Automobile expense. So all these are expenses. Here's a drawing. So obviously he used $30 for his own. And now I have credit to cash for this amount of money. So now I have $200 back in the box like I need it. So this is called, the second journal entry is called replenish. Notice you do not see petty cash anywhere here. Okay, and so here's my complete petty cash journal entry. My next video will talk about the use of change fund and cash short and over.